Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Many of you may not know, but for the last 9+ years, where is Brad? Brad, wave your hand. Where are you at? There. Oh, in the back. The back row. I'm not sure about that, Brad. But Brad and I have worked together for over the last 9 years. And I'm blessed to share office many of those years, and I see many people here who have worked with Brad over the years. And, good to see you all. Well, Brad warned me about saying anything too bad, so I have to be careful. But because I certainly know more about Brad than most or many. Well, Brad's launching into ministry, and it's been a long time in coming in many ways. Brad has felt the call to go into ministry full-time since about 2003. It's about the first time that he shared with me that he'd like to end his employment in computer stuff and go on to full-time ministry. But Brad had a problem. Brad's, how do I say it? Frugal's the nice way. So I'll say frugal. And so Brad had to find a way to fund his full-time ministry as well as eat. Eating's important, especially to Brad. So Brad's been trying to get out for quite a while, and God's got a way of working things out. Brad hadn't gotten out yet, and the company decided to go a different direction and not to have him as a consultant any longer. And so Brad was in the position where he thought he would go up to Appleton. The company we had worked for had always had an office in Appleton, and they had like 150 people up there. So Brad was going to buy a house in Appleton because that was where his sister was working and where his brother had recently moved as well. And hopefully I'm not taking what you're going to share about Brad. But so he thought he'd go up there, but the problem was that the company had discontinued that branch, unbeknownst to both of us, and there was maybe less than 10 people up there now. So Brad was forced into a situation where he had to decide what to do. And the company decided that at this point it'd be pretty hard for him to find a job down in Madison where the office was located. So they decided to go through medical retirement for Brad. And so I see the grace of God in that and how God provides a way. And I wouldn't say he kicked Brad out the door, but something like that. I see the grace of God in many things in Brad's life. I see the grace of God in Brad when people see his body that doesn't work as necessarily like ours does and think automatically that his brain doesn't work like ours. Maybe like yours. So they assume that if there's not a strong body, that there's not a strong mind, but nothing could be further from the truth for Brad. He's got a strong mind and a strong sense of humor as well. So I see the grace of God in that. Now, even though Brad was born with CP, I see the grace of God in his parents and the parents he chose for Brad. Many of you, I don't know how many of you have met Brad's parents, but I've met them and know them. And his mother was, she pushed him to heights that he probably would not have attained. Behind every good man's a good woman. And in this case, that was Brad's mom. And she really pushed him and taught him much. And I see the grace of God in that. I see the grace of God in Brad surviving the time over the last couple of years he lost both his folks. And Brad was very close to them, and so I see the grace of God in that as well. Sorry, I got to find where I'm at now. I see the grace of God also in now the people that Brad works with, how he has touched them, and how they all love him, and really have a special place. He has a special place in their heart. I see the grace of God in that. I wish I had better notes. Oh, I see the grace of God in Brad's work ethic. Now, I mean, in America, people have the sniffles and they're not at work. I mean, Brad's half dead when he comes to work. And I mean that. And I see the grace of God in that, I shared an office with him all those years, and he would be just as sick as a dog, and I don't remember ever getting sick at the same time, and I thank God for that, because I worried about it a lot. I even see the grace of God in a car accident Brad had. One day Brad came to work, and he was telling me how a deer hit him. Now in Wisconsin, we always say, what? I hit a deer. But not Brad. Brad said, a deer hit me. And I gave him quite a hard time about that. But then when I saw his car, actually it had run into the side and hit him in the side of the door. So I had to agree with him that the deer hit him. But so he was safe through that, and I appreciated that as well. I also see the grace of God in some of Brad's defense mechanisms. I've always, I have sort of a sense of humor, and I've picked on Brad over the years. And at first, when I met Brad, and I would give him a hard time, and he would just completely ignore what I said. I mean, he wouldn't blink. He wouldn't skip a word in a sentence, or his cadence wouldn't change. He wouldn't look from right or left, and he was just ignoring me. And I figured out that he was just ignoring me when I was picking on him, and so I'd pursue it, and then you'd finally get him to laugh because he knew the gig was up, that was what he was doing to me, and I've seen him do that a lot over the years. So I also see the grace of God in when people have tried to cast out demons out of Brad, because they figured that he had the reason he had CP is because there certainly had to be a demon in his life, and I see the grace of God and Brad weathering that storm as well. Well, I'm going to miss Brad as a coworker, and we will be poorer because of it, but the kingdom of God will be furthered by it, and certainly Brad's not handicapped in the kingdom of God when he is served.